Hey guys, Captain Foley and Commander Calkins are back.
Hey guys.
This is December, and this is the first show of the new schedule. So if you haven't learned about the new schedule yet, check out the promo on the Trekyards Facebook page and website.
It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it.
Yeah. So today's the new format, new show. This is the Star Trek Legends series. So
just hear that, Stuart? Does something happen? Is it? What?
It doesn't look. What
Where'd
is
you
going
go?
on? I don't know. Having some problems here.
Are you still there? Oh, okay.
I'm.
No. Do you see that?
Huh. I guess they wanted us to do this right, eh?
But they can hack. Who thought it? Who'd have thunk it? So what are we doing today, Stuart? Then.
One of the most legendary ships of Star Trek history, the Bird of Prey.
Come on, two.
Yeah. Anyway.
So let's start off by telling you that there are more Bird of Prey designs than even I knew. You got okay, let's start with the names. So you got the smallest little type, which is the QAPLA. Is that close? The D12 Burrell, the Cavort, the larger Detail class, and the early 22nd century version from Enterprise. And a few non-canon types like the L22 Bird of Prey, the L42 Great Bird, and a D32 Stronger Bird. A lot of Bird of Preys. They love the Bird of Prey.
Yeah. The Bird of Prey has been the heart of the Klingon Defense Force for centuries. Small fighters with the same basic layout have been used since early planetary conflicts. Klingons have not changed the basic design in centuries because they feel no need to change something that they believe is fundamentally correct. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Philosophy.
True. So obviously the Bird of Prey is the most versatile ship in the Klingon Empire, obviously, and it has numerous different roles, including a raider, patrol ship, and even a cruiser with the Cavort class.
Originally conceived as a Romulan ship for the original screenplay for Star Trek III, it was to have been stolen by Krug and his men, who were in fact renegades and not representing the Klingon Empire. The design and even the color of the ship looks very Romulan, and this never really changed, even to reflect the supposed Klingon design. Perhaps this design was acquired during their allegiance with the Romulans. Into that a little bit later. The Romulan connection is, of course, later disproved in Enterprise when we see an early Bird of Prey, which was long before the Klingon alliance of 2267.
But we'll get into your feelings about that later, I think.
Feels.
Yeah. So the first time we saw a Bird of Prey was in 2153 from NX-01, like you said, by Jonathan Archer. However, the first Bird of Prey with the Federation captain, weird to say that out loud, was obviously James D. Kirk in Star Trek 3 and 4, and that was in 2285. The first Cardassian Bird of Prey was captured by Gul Dukat in 2372. So.
By the late 2370s, the classic Bird of Prey design was almost 100 years old, but with constant upgrades and retrofits, still very much in service and used in nearly every battle of the Dominion War. So the standard weapons included 2 forward-firing wing-mounted disruptor cannons, 2 photon torpedo launchers, one mounted fore and one mounted aft.
Where? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but apparently there is one aft torpedo launcher. It could be a micro torpedo launcher, maybe.
It's true.
And by the 24th century, at least one ship of the class was armed with phasers rather than disruptors and had a weapons range that exceeded 40,000 kilometers.
Yeah, and like we saw in Star Trek 3, the Klingon commander said his Bird of Prey, which was a Burrell, was outgunned 10-1 by the Federation Constitution class refit. So in that era, not as powerful.
By TNG, most ships have wings in the fixed upward position, indicating that the majority of these were larger Cavort class ships, said to have at least double the firepower of the smaller Burrell class.
But we did see that in sort of DS9 time, the Bird of Prey was actually very effective against Dominion ships because they basically have equal maneuverability, so you got some really good little dogfights.
One weakness of early designs was the fact that while cloaked, the ship could not communicate with other ships or use transporters or weapons.
That's a serious flaw.
Yeah, the issue with communications and transporters is soon rectified, making the only limitation the firing weapons.
But one sort of universal design flaw is there's a vulnerable spot located on the underside, right between the ship's targeting system, and easily fooled. So basically around there, It's vulnerable. Do not shoot there, or do unless you're trying to kill it. Yeah.
Cloaking systems left an energy surge that can be picked up on close-range sensors as a distortion. This also resulted in a visible distortion as well. On average, Burrell-class bird of prey had a crew complement that varied from a dozen up to a crew of 36. A skeleton crew of 6 men could operate and even take one into battle and be successful should the need arise.
Wow. Or have an honourable death.
Yes.
So on the average Burrell, there's very little room. It was a very cramped ship, like Jazeera Dax once said, very uncomfortable. No frills, no holodecks, no anything. Military craft, just like Klingons liked it.
Due to the ship's age, there was a variety of bridge configurations, usually customized by the ship's captain.
So each bird of prey was custom ordered by the house that needed it, and the more you had, the bigger your house was, the more a status symbol.
Payment for each new ship was made at the Kronos orbital factory base. Then personal bridge layout, weapon selection, internal configurations, etc., were incorporated into each, whichever size class the client had paid for. It's kind of like getting a new car.
Does that explain why they were always so different?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So there is a canon reason for it. Good to know.
Yeah.
So all ships, and I still feature of bird of prey, that all the individual systems worked in pairs, so much more difficult to disable. And although obviously in a big space battle, one torpedo can sort of rip through the ship, but in smaller battles, very redundant. Good ships.
The cloaking system worked by generating a quantum phase bubble around the ship that instantly teleports EM radiation to the other side of the cloaked area, hence making the ship invisible.
That's cool. The wing-mounted disruptors, they were quite cool because they tapped into the engines to produce disruptor bolts that were as powerful as they could make them. Again, Klingons, they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Photon torpedo launchers could launch probes as well as antimatter mines as well.
That's cool. And the as you saw in Star Trek, the wings could change from the landing mode to the cavort to the broad, and that sort of range. And wherever it was in that positioning, the weapons would be less or more effective. So in the down attack position, more effective, and then landing, they could still fire, but far less effective.
Interesting. Photon torpedoes, or the torpedoes in general, are the only weapons that can be fired at warp, as disruptors cannot normally travel faster than light.
Yeah, it's true. And certain Burrell-class ships weren't even equipped with photon torpedo launchers, but instead long-range sensor dishes, because that's the mission they run.
What Klingon captain would want a sensor dish instead of a weapon?
The one that wants to get honor by spying on... No, there's no Klingon.
Just asking. The standard torpedoes carried aboard the Bird of Prey were referred to as Talon strikes.
Okay.
The second type of torpedo is called Morath's Fist, and was originally designed to be deployed aboard Vorcha-class attack cruisers.
Wow.
These have since been resized to fit the Burrell class, however. These are overloaded with antimatter for maximum punch.
Wow.
And finally, the antimatter mines they carried were called Eagle's Claws, and can be launched from the torpedo tube and be configured for a variety of ranges as far as detonation goes.
So the Federation gets a Mark 8 torpedo launcher, and Klingons get Morath's Fist. Wow, that's a bit...
Sounds, yeah.
Not very imaginative, are we? Yeah, and one thing you notice on the Bird of Prey, which I actually always thought was phasers, I guess, but isn't. The bronze-coloured ribbing around... I could be showing on this, or there's next to us, obviously. Okay, there we hit Stuart's trying to show off. Yeah, that bronze-coloured bit is actually... it's a cloaking emitter ring. That's actually what generates the cloaking field. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that was something really cool that I learned from this research in this one.
Yeah.
If someone were to fire a weapon while cloaked, any beam...
They can do that?
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later, I think. But like I was saying, if they were to fire any beam or projectile weapon, it would interact with the cloaking field in unpredictable ways, from disappearing and rematerializing thousands of kilometers away to dimensionally smearing within the envelope of the quantum bubble, only to exit back inside and strike the ship.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, no.
That's why they don't fire while cloaked. Okay.
Yeah. So any commander foolish enough to fire while cloaked is almost certain not to hit his target, or likely to destroy his own ship. So
that's why the designers of the Bird of Prey very quickly added a software patch to basically stop them from doing that, because it's stupid.
Yeah, stop overzealous people from firing.
But we know that one design fault didn't cripple the design, because it was going on for the next hundreds of years. So obviously, yeah, get around it.
The red ring around the torpedo tube is actually the ship's main deflector, right there.
That must be an efficient deflector. It's titsy.
Yeah, no kidding.
And back to Star Trek Online, because we both play Star Trek Online on occasion. The Burrell refit, because it's got to have a bird of prey, is called the Barolf. Barolf? Yeah.
Interesting. Now for specific ship class information.
Because there's a lot of different versions of these ships, aren't there? The bird of prey is a mantra that... Yeah, let's just get into this.
So now let's look at specific classes and special ships. And let's start with the 22nd century version from Enterprise, first seen in the Season 2 finale episode, The Expanse.
I really like this ship, but we'll talk about it later. Its length is 145 meters long, width is 137, height is 66, and has a crew of 48, so it's actually not only bigger, but more crew than the later on Burrells. Max speed of warp 6, Enterprise scale, and it's weapon to include 8 disruptor banks, 2 of which have a 360-degree arc, which is the under hull one, which is pretty awesome. I wish they'd included it in the later one. Damn it, spoilers. And it has 4 after-period launcher like the newer ones. So very heavily armed little ship.
So this is a small raiding and scouting vessel meant to be maneuverable attack craft when it's used in a fleet. So to kind of support the bigger ships.
But it is interesting how the ship is actually bigger than a classic Burrell class, or I guess classic future Burrell class. And because it's obviously featured earlier in the timeline, it sort of takes away, like you said, the theory of it being a Romulan ship. So
now let's talk about the Burrell.
Okay.
Which is quite an interesting little ship and is by far the most famous bird of prey variant. In-canon information has different dimensions for this ship, so it's possible that there are varying size classes within each particular class itself, which is unique, in and of itself.
Yeah.
With a length of 88 meters and a width of 130 meters,
quite small.
Its height was around 21 meters. However, other information states that the length can be up to 157 meters, with the usual length stating around 110 meters.
That's much bigger than the other one.
Yeah.
Oof.
Cruising speed of warp 7 with a max speed of warp 8. Standard mission length is 2 years, with a recommended yard overhaul after about 10 years. Warp unit is a KWC dilithium conversion graph unit, and impulse hydrogen energy integrated impulse drive.
Whew. Cool.
Words.
I gotta say, though, 2 years, I would not want to be stuck on a crap bird of prey for 2 years.
No.
So yeah, with a standard crew of 6 to 12, and in Star Trek 3, we saw that they could carry up to 3 prisoners, although I'm sure more if you really wanted to be unkind to them.
There's also a much smaller, 35-meter long QAPLA fighter-type vessel.
They are so different, aren't they? Jeez.
Yeah. And I would assume that would probably be a 2 or 3 person kind of fighter. Now let's quickly look at the Cavort class.
So that's it, guys, for part 1 of the Klingon Bird of Prey. Next episode, part 2, is first Saturday of next month, and we're really excited. 2015. It's going to be awesome.
Definitely. So stay tuned, guys. Bye, guys.